Okay, so let's talk about coaching tools. One of the things we're very proud of at Life Coach Hub is all the tools that we offer, which allow for a really interactive experience with your client. So your client will be happier, they will see the true ROI of coaching, and they'll stay your client longer. They'll also tell all their friends. So let's get into it. The first one we have here are coaching plans. So a coaching plan basically is a small, um, short form that you send to the client before your session to just focus the client and yourself on what you're going to talk about in that session and just get them into the groove of coaching. Also, find out a little bit about how they've been going since the last session. So, some coaches send these out and some don't. You're very welcome to decide when you're onboarding whether you want to send one or not, which I'll show you in a minute. But let me just show you what we have here. So this is what a tools page is going to look like. You have a section at the top which shows you a little bit of information about the tool. Then you have a button where you can create a new one. Then you also have down here a table where you can see like the tools themselves. So here we only have one coaching plan at the moment, but you could easily make more. If we click here, we could clone it as a template and then easily make more. I mean, this is a very short form, but that makes it really easy. And if we click here on edit, we can then go in if we don't like this one and change it. So the ones that we give you are these three questions. What have been your successes since our last session? What have been your challenges since our last session? And what would you like to focus on at our next session? So again, it gives you a focus and lets you know where they're at with their challenges and their successes. So you can add more questions, update it, or you could just this one entirely, like I said, clone it, or just start from scratch like this, use our suggested ones, or forget about those and create your own. So new question, and then add the question like that. Okay, and then when you're done, just create the coaching plan. Oh, there you go. Silly me. So coaching plan 2. All right, you do not have to use a category, but you can if you want. Create the coaching plan, and there we go. Now, if we decide we really don't like that one, we can just either archive it, which we'll put it on this tab, we can edit it, or we can just delete it. Now, how do you decide whether you want to send a coaching plan? It's totally up to you, and when you're going to do that is when you're onboarding your client. So as you remember, we put in our client details here, we press invite client. That is going to take us to another screen. Beep, boop, boop. There we go. Now we're on the other screen. Let's pretend I pressed invite. It takes us here. This is where we choose whether we want to send a welcome package or not, and whether we want to send a coaching plan or not, and which coaching plan we want from our list. So that's how we use coaching plans. Totally up to you if you want to use them, but they are super useful. Okay, so what else do we have? We have action items. Action items, basically, coaching is all about taking action, right? It's about getting your clients to take action. So how can you remember what actions that the client has agreed they were going to take and committed to taking, so you can motivate them and keep them accountable? And how are they going to remember so they can stay committed? Well, creating action items is a great way to do that. So we have given you, oh no, we don't give you any action items, sorry. We give you lots of other things, but not action items because they tend to be very individual. But this is from this demo client. Here's just some examples. Okay, so for instance, practice the HALT method. Perhaps you talked about that in your coaching session, and then it has been, after the session, you assign it to that client. There's a whole bunch of other ones here that you can take a look at here. Time tracking exercise. So the next 24 hours, track everything you do, from checking emails to social media scrolling. This will give you a clear picture of where your time actually goes versus where you think it goes. So let's say you talked about time management in your session, and at the end of the session, the client said, when you asked them, what action do you want to commit to taking this week? They said, I really want something else. I want something to help me keep track of all this time I'm losing to social media. So you could very easily right then and there create this action item, and I will show you that when we get to this sessions video, but I'll just show you here. If you wanted to, you could create these action items from this page as well. Generally, action items are the kind of thing you're going to create from the sessions itself within the session, but of course you can do it here as well. So same thing, create new at the top. You can put your title, category if you want, your description, and you can give a target date since it is something that they've committed to. So perhaps next week for our session, we can do that. But you don't have to, that's optional. Same type of things we have here. We can assign them to different clients. We can edit them. We can clone it as a template and kind of redo it, rejig it a little bit. We can archive it and we can delete it. Okay, let's get back to our tools menu. So goals, obviously we kind of all know what goals are. How are they different from action items, you might be asking? Well, an action item generally is shorter term. It's something they've agreed to before the next session, perhaps, or maybe a couple sessions hence. Whereas a goal tends to be a much longer, well, not much, but definitely longer kind of scope. So it might be something like you want to ask for a raise, but it's going to take a while. They have to brush up their CV. They have to do some other things. So perhaps an action item would have been brushing up the CV, but the goal is longer term to get the raise, or perhaps, get the promotion. That could be the goal. If you're maybe in health, it could be something like losing 10 pounds or reducing the cholesterol a certain amount. So goals are longer term. So here's some examples. Establish a consistent nighttime routine. So perhaps this client wasn't sleeping well, or this was perhaps a stress management coach. This goal is actually broken down into milestones and some ideas about how to measure the progress. What else do we have? Some mindful eating habits here. So this could just be something about, longer term view of how the client wants to approach their relationship with food, etc. So these are all ideas of goals. It's a very similar setup. We just click create new, title, category if you want it, a description, a target date if you would like it, and perhaps you'd like to give not give a reward, but suggest that they give themselves a reward. So perhaps buy a new dress, or go out to dinner or something like that. And then here we can add milestones. So these are steps along the way, and that's because a goal is larger. And for each of these, we can also add a date. So that's our goals. Let's get back to our tools here. So next one, journals. Now journaling is obviously really great to use in coaching. And so if you do use that, you do not have to use a different program. You can do it right here. You can create new journal prompts for them. We have given you a number here that you're very welcome to use, or if you don't like them, you can just delete them or archive them. But just some ideas, something about perhaps relationships in their lives, clearing out the clutter. So perhaps this is like an organizational coach might give this kind of a journaling prompt, boundaries on time. So we're getting back to that whole idea of time management and how to say no to things, work-life balance. As you can see here, we have actually categorized them so you can kind of see which ones might be relevant to you if you want them. Your client will see this journal topic, and they will be able to journal through their own portal. And what does that mean to you? Well, they may or may not share that with you. So obviously journaling can be very private. They might want to share it with you, they might not. So they can select whether you'll be able to see that journal submission or not. So this is a really great way to get your client, again, a different way to get them to take action, to start moving towards their goals, to get from where they are to where they want to be. Journaling. Okay, so same idea, very, very simple for the journal, just a title, a category, and a description. The description would be similar to these ones. Spending more time in nature. So are you feeling out of balance with the world around you? It's important to spend time reconnecting with nature, schedule an activity that gets you outside, like walking, spending time in the garden, and write about your experience. So, and it could be an ongoing thing. You could have more than one journal going at once. And from their portal, they are going to be able to write a number of entries. And I can show you that later. I can show you the client side to these in later on in this video, or perhaps if we run out of time in another video. Okay, so let's get back to tools. The next one is worksheets. So what are worksheets? I mean, pretty simple. It's just a form that you want a client to fill in. And what's really great about it is that it'll be electronically delivered to you. So you can create the form. Let's just open one up. And then we can see, we can create the form. There's questions here that they will get. And when we're adding it, it'll say if it's a short answer, or you can change this. It could be a long answer. So it'll give them basically just a bigger field, or multiple choice. And then you choose the option. You add the options here. You add the question and your options. So that's how we do worksheets. Again, they get that in their portal, and then they can answer it, and then you will get their answers. So that's pretty cool. And again, we have given you a number that you can use, ready to use yourself here, like around motivation, work-life balance, time management, and so on. Finally, the kind of the bucket of everything else is resources. So there's two ways to use resources. You can either create it manually. So, you could use this text editor, what you see is what you get kind of text editor. You can actually add images and videos and different heading sizes, etc. Or you can just easily upload some kind of file, perhaps a PDF. Okay, so some people prefer to do that than using the interactive worksheets and so on, but absolutely you can do both. So for instance, here's an example. This was the what you see is what you get text editor that was used. Whereas I think this one was as well. These are the ones we gave you. I think they all are, but you can also do a PDF if you want. Okay, so those are the tools. Why don't we see what it looks like when they are assigned? Now, I'm going to have a whole other video on the progress stream, but here's where you would actually go. You'd go to the coaching tools tab, and then you can see here what type of tool it was. And then if you click on more, you can see this is your client's entry, your client's name, client's entry, and then you can comment back and forth. I like to think of this as sort of like a Facebook feed where you can just go through and look at all your different tools. So this is a journal. They're actually sharing their entry with you. And again, you can comment if you like. Here's a worksheet that was responded to, etc., etc. So that's what it looks like for you. Now let's log in as a client and take a look on their end. Okay, so I am now magically a client, and I've logged in. I've gone into my coaching pad. This is where my sessions live, and here's where I can see all my tools all organized. So these are all the action items that I have, and I can click it, I can read it. Here's where I can put an entry. This is where I can do the visibility. I mentioned that for a journal, but it actually is for everything. We can have visibility for who can see it, my coach or just me, okay? And then we can also allow comments or not. So that is kept hidden, but they can open it up and do that, and they can submit their entry. Once they're done their action item, they can also just click here and say it's mark it as completed, and then send it like that, and you'll get an alert saying it's being completed. So here is where they can see what they've written, and then they can also see your comments. So that's an action item. Let's take a look at a worksheet. So here's an example of a worksheet that was submitted. You can see the description here and the answers that they gave. We also have our journals, as we mentioned. So here is describing what to do. This is where they can put their entry and decide who can see it, and if they want comments or not. And it could be an ongoing thing. All right. And we also have our resources and our goals, pretty much the same idea. So our goal here, and we can see the target date, we can see the different milestones when they're due, and so on. So that's basically a little tour of our tools. So once again, you can see all your clients' entries on the progress stream. You can also see them attached to each individual session under tools, and this is also where you can assign tools. So I talked about how assigning is really easy from the session itself, and creating as well. You could just assign new tool, choose an action item, take one of the ones we have, or create a new one here on the spot. You can do that with all the different kinds of tools. That's another place. And then finally, some people like to just use their client folder for everything. So if you go into your client, you can see in the sessions here, or you also have a whole tools tab right here. Now, this is a demo client which hasn't done any updates for a while because it was created a while ago, but normally you would have a client who, you should see numbers here, right? You should see 5, like maybe, well, in a month, let's say 10 in the month and 3 completed in the past month, let's say, for instance. And then you're like, okay, they're paying attention, they're doing their homework, they're actually engaging. But if this starts to tick down, there's an issue and you need to kind of talk to them and see where the motivation is lacking. So that helps you with that update. And here's where we can see all of our tools, and we can also just, of course, filter them like this. And if we want to view the progress, we can unassign, we can archive, mark as completed, and so on. We can also even go here to assign a new tool. So plenty of places to do tools. We really do love our tools. Hope this has been extremely helpful to you. Thank you very much.